Hi, today we will explain the storyline of the movie Heretic, which was released in 2024. Okay, let's get straight to the story. Two Mormon missionaries named Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes are touring the city to find new followers while chatting. Besides trying to look in the streets, they also have a list of people they will visit directly. That day, their target was a middle-aged man called Mr. Reed. A little later, they arrived at Reed's remote residence. Before knocking on the door, they locked their bikes on the fence. From the outside, Reed looked like a friendly man who was interested in learning more about religion. Due to the bad weather and heavy rain, Reed invited them in so they wouldn't get caught in the rain. At first, the two girls were hesitant, but Reed assured them that his wife was at home and baking pies, so they had nothing to fear. They entered and took off their wet coats. While waiting for Reed to dry the coats, they looked around the house. Soon after, Reed returned with 2 glasses of drink. Without stalling, Reed asked them about their background before allowing Paxton to begin. To their surprise, Reed knew more about the Book of Mormon than they did. Reed also seemed more interested in the girl's background and asked how Barnes' father died. So that this question wouldn't make Barnes sadder, Paxton said that she wanted to come back to life as a butterfly and land in the hands of the people she cared about. Shortly afterwards, some of the lights in the room went out. Reed then asked what he thought was an awkward and intriguing question about polygamy. Barnes gave a neutral answer from a religious perspective. They then moved on to the topic of fast food. Reed associated the many fast food options with his experience studying theology. He tried various fast food restaurants to suit his mood as he studied different religions and sects. He concluded that the more he knew, the less he knew. Until he was 50 years old, he didn't believe in anything anymore. Therefore, he wanted to find the one true religion. Paxton diverted the awkward conversation by asking about his wife. Reed said he would call his wife to join them. After he left, Paxton hinted that she felt something was wrong. However, Barnes said they had to complete the mission even though she also felt bad, especially after realizing that the smell of pie they had been smelling came from blueberry-flavored aromatherapy candles. Finally, Paxton agreed that they would only give an outline later. Shortly thereafter, Reed appeared and invited them to another room where he claimed his wife was waiting. However, Barnes suddenly said she had to pick up the phone from the aid agency. After Reed was no longer in sight, the two of them planned to leave without saying goodbye. Unfortunately, she remembered that their bicycles were locked outside and the keys were in her coat pocket. They briefly considered leaving without their bikes. Unfortunately, it turned out that the door of the house was locked. They tried to find another way out. There were only small windows around them, plus there was no signal, so they couldn't call for help. Barnes kept trying to open the door, but of course her efforts were in vain. Not long after, the electricity in the room completely went out. They then walked to the hallway that connected to another room where Reed was standing motionless. They called out to him, but Reed remained silent. They walked closer and found a brightly lit library room. Reed suddenly appeared carrying a box. Politely, Barnes confessed that she had to leave immediately and return to the church. Reed let them go, but he had to go back again. Barnes and Paxton hurried to put on their coats. Strangely, the bike lock was not in Barnes's pocket, but in Paxton's. After that, Barnes asked Reed to open the front door, but Reed said the door couldn't be opened anymore. He evaded that the door latch had a timer, so that it wouldn't open until it was time. Therefore, he asked the two of them to go out through one of the doors behind him. Suspicious Barnes didn't just trust Reed's words. In her opinion, it was a bit strange to have a door with a timer that couldn't be opened anymore. Moreover, the back door in question also looked suspicious. He then left again to let them make a decision. On the other hand, Reed knew they were lying about getting a phone call because there was metal around his house that blocked the signal. Nevertheless, he gave them the option of going out the right door. Of course, this confused them both. Paxton asked him to just call his wife. However, Reed threw the question back at them, namely whether they believed his wife was there, even though they had seen some evidence to suggest that he was lying. He asked them to believe in the context of their beliefs. Believing as they are indeed convinced that God is real, or believing because someone is asking them to believe it. Barnes was unable to answer the question and asked for Reed's phone. Unfortunately, Reed didn't have a phone. Barnes finally decided that she would choose one of the doors that felt like an exit. Reed also wrote the words belief and disbelief on each door. However, the door she chose was the wrong door. She switched to the other door, which also turned out to be a dark basement.
We're gonna leave. Now, is that okay?
Of course.
Doesn't look like this goes outside.
Meanwhile, in another place, a man named Kennedy was seen having just finished his duty of cleaning the church. This man went into the toilet and read the list of officer shifts, which consisted of the names Barnes and Paxton. He realized that the shift for that day had not been filled. Back to Reed's house. Reed then explained that his house was on a hill. So, to get outside, they had to go down through the basement. Barnes urged him to help to show them the way out correctly. Instead of giving a simple answer, Reed instead told them to decide seriously while taking out his collection of Monopoly games. After that, Reed took out the old production Monopolies and introduced their history. Long story short, they both tried to distract Reed so he wouldn't say anything else. Paxton chose the disbelief door, while Barnes chose belief. She believed it was all just a game. Barnes believed they could choose any door regardless of their belief in their religion. Paxton eventually followed Barnes and entered the belief door. Reed watched at the doorstep as they descended into the basement. Shortly afterwards, Reed closed the door, leaving them in the dark. Barnes turned on the light on her cell phone and found a door. However, there was only another door and a table and chairs. They realized there was no way out, but Barnes saw a small window on the roof which she thought was a way out. Suddenly, there was a sound of someone entering. They thought it was Reed. Barnes then gave Paxton an envelope opener as a precaution as well as a secret code to attack. However, the figure that appeared was not Reed, but a woman with a hooded face. This woman brought a plate of blueberry pie and left it on the table. She then curled up strangely in the middle of the room. Shortly afterwards, Radiohead's song Creep was heard from Reed's room. Meanwhile, Barnes switched to another room that led to Disbelief's door. Shortly thereafter, the music stopped. Reed said through the sound channel that they were currently faced with one of the living apostles of Allah, a mysterious figure in the basement. Reed claimed to have witnessed a miracle. Therefore, he needed witnesses to confirm that the miracle was real. The mysterious figure in the basement lifted the hood of her face and took a piece of pie. Reeds said he had added belladonna poison and wolfsbane poison to the pie. If she was indeed the apostle, the woman would die immediately after eating it and be resurrected afterwards. Shortly after the woman ate the cake, she didn't move. He told the two of them to make sure that the woman was really gone. Reed said that she would move soon. For a while, it didn't happen. But then the doorbell rang. They were very sure it was their elder Kennedy, who was looking for them based on the list of people they had visited. Paxton and Barnes then shouted as loudly as they could through the crack under the door. Sure enough, it was Kennedy. However, Kennedy did not hear their screams. While Reeds was in front, Barnes tried to pull the carpet where the lighter was. After successfully retrieving the matches, Paxton noticed that the woman in the attic moved slightly. Shortly thereafter, they were surprised to see the woman behind them, spewing out the contents of a pie crust and uttering a few sentences that made no sense. After that, Reed came in and thanked them for the revelation she had just uttered. Not long after, Reed returned the woman to her room.
That's my name.
Reed then asked their opinion of what they had just witnessed. Barnes insisted that she had no idea what she had just seen. She was sure it was just Reed's experiment. On the other hand, Paxton told what the woman said. Reed's madness didn't stop there. He also claimed to be able to help them see God as long as they were willing to die. He believed he could explain the purpose of human life in a way that was easier to understand than any religion in the world. Barnes still didn't believe that what he was showing was a miracle. Barnes said it was just a magic trick. She also recounted her near-death experience as a child. Therefore, she believed Reed had held the woman captive and put her through a near-death experience to ask her questions about religion. On the other hand, this was just an attempt by Barnes to catch Reed off guard, so that Paxton could stab him. Unfortunately, when Barnes mentioned the secret code to Paxton, it was Reed who attacked Barnes. He slashed Barnes's neck with a cutter, while Paxton rushed to escape. Unfortunately, the basement door was locked. Reed then shouted that Barnes would rise again. Casually, he told Paxton to wait. Reed slashed Barnes's arm and took out a small piece of metal. He said it blocked Barnes from coming back to life. Plus, it was a microchip that signaled Barnes wasn't real. Furthermore, Reed explained the butterfly dream taught in Taoism, where an ancient Chinese philosopher once asked himself, "Am I a man who dreams of being a butterfly, or am I a butterfly who dreams of being a man?" Reed then told Paxton to sit down and explained that he believed they were in a very sophisticated simulation, in accordance with the revelation that the apostle said earlier, that this is not real.
You see, fire dynamics are very difficult to render. I've noticed this anomaly into the real world.
Paxton believes Reed's premise is wrong. The metal he took from Barnes's hand was a contraceptive, not a microchip. However, Reed did not believe it. According to Paxton, Reed's hypothesis about simulation cannot be proven. Reed agreed. Just like religion, we can choose to believe or not. In that case, Paxton chose not to believe his hypothesis. Paxton explained that Reed exchanged the body of the apostle woman while they were distracted by the doorbell. This is because Paxton realized that the woman's position had changed slightly. In addition, Reed had also arranged the words the woman spoke. However, there were parts that the woman said that deviated from Reed's instructions, and Reed was now improvising to remedy the situation. If this is true, Reed then challenged Paxton to check if there was another way into the room. Paxton looked up and saw a small window with a butterfly pattern. She moved the table and saw a waterway underneath, along with a handle leading to a secret room. Reed challenged her to check the hole. Willingly, Paxton was willing to go down. Sure enough, she found the body of another woman, confirming her theory that Reed had switched the bodies of the apostle women. Not far from there was a door that led to the next door. Paxton found various objects in each room until she found a door with her bicycle lock. She took the bicycle key out of her coat pocket. Unexpectedly, behind the door was a cold room that contained other apostle women. Reed appeared on the other side. He asked again, "What is the true religion?" With the right analysis, Paxton concluded that the true religion for Reed was control. Reed agreed and considered religion to be a control system that he used to lock up the women. Reed approached Paxton. Just then, Paxton stabbed Reed in the throat with an envelope knife and ran as fast as she could upstairs. When she got upstairs, Paxton was confused again because she couldn't find the door to the outside. Instead, she went back to the basement. Suddenly, Reed came and stabbed Paxton with a box cutter without giving her a chance to resist. In a state of mutual injury, Reed asked Paxton to pray for them both. Although Paxton did not believe in the power of prayer, she continued to pray until Reed approached her and tried to kill her. Unexpectedly, Barnes was still alive and saved Paxton. However, a second later, she was really dead. Paxton finally managed to find a way out based on the miniature of Reed's house in the library room. In the open air, she saw a butterfly perched on her finger and then disappeared. This is reminiscent of her hope of coming back to life as a butterfly. Questioning whether this was all a hallucination of Paxton's near-death experience or other possibilities.